My name is Michael Terrian. I make Bluet, Maine wild blueberry sparkling wine. 4 years ago, we came to the Wild Blueberry Conference to talk about the future of a wild blueberry wine industry here in Maine. That was when we were making a tiny amount of wine in a barn. We were looking forward to moving into a new facility, which we've done, and this has allowed us to grow and to explore the national market. Wild blueberry wine has a great story to tell about Maine. It's kind of like Pinot Noir and how it can reflect the terroir of the region it's grown in, whether it's Burgundy, France, or the Santa Cruz Mountains in California. But it's also totally different because this is a wild fruit that's been growing here since the end of the last ice age. This is an ancient indigenous berry, and fermentation unlocks flavors that are surprisingly floral and savory. This is not a sweet, jammy pie kind of wine. What we didn't know when we started was just how difficult it is for families farming the wild blueberry here in Maine. There's about 400 family farms. Some of them have going back all the way to the Civil War when blueberries were canned to feed the Union Army. Just about all of the crop is purchased by several large processors for freezing. And last year, the price decreased significantly for the independent farmers. In fact, over the past 20 years, the price has dropped roughly 40% for these farms. We all know the wild blueberry is the original blueberry, but it's the cultivated blueberry that's been engineered for shelf life that steals all the attention. It's available fresh, year-round, imported from places as far away as Chile. If wild blueberry farms are to have a secure future here in Maine, we have to increase the price that they get for their crop. We have to add value to their crop, and wine is the highest value-added product there is for a fruit. Look at Napa Cabernet. I know it sounds ridiculous to compare wild blueberry wine to Cabernet from Napa, but this is an economic comparison. There's a rule of thumb in the wine industry where if you take 2 zeros away from the price per ton, you get to the bottle price. So $9,000 per ton is the average price for Cabernet in Napa. Take 2 zeros away, you get $90 per bottle. Look at Bluet, $20 per bottle. Add 2 zeros to the bottle price, you get to $2,000 per ton in fruit. That is $1 a pound. Last year, the price was somewhere around 35 cents per pound. Farming costs are about 50, 60 cents per pound. $1 a pound is a sustainable price for the growers, and it's a workable price for a winery. And $20 is not a very high price to pay for such a unique product with an extraordinary story. Thing is, not a whole lot of people know this story, and we need to change that. Several hundred stores and restaurants sell Bluet here in Maine. Bluet is a Maine product and it's anchored here in Maine, but this isn't going to make much of a difference for the farmer. We have to sell nationally and we have to get going quickly. Look, this isn't a problem for the wild blueberry. It's been growing here for 10,000 years and it'll keep doing so. What this does affect is the way of life of these farms. So who out there beyond Maine will buy Bluet? Wine consumption in America is 1 billion gallons each year. And Bluet is technically a wine, but it's sort of compared more often to a sour ale or a saison or beer. And it'd be great if we were a beer because that's 6 billion gallons per year. But we're not a beer, we're not a wine. What are we? Many people think it's more like a cider, and yet we can't call it a cider because it doesn't have apples. Cider, though, is a good comparison for us because where was cider 30 years ago? 300,000 gallons consumed. Now it's something like 50 million to 100 million gallons. That's a very short time, and this is the reference point that we need for wild blueberry wine. If we used half the crop of wild blueberries to make wine, that would be 3 million gallons. The nation would need to drink roughly 5% of the volume of cider that's consumed each year. It's not that impossible to imagine. To help imagine this, take the evidence from California where Bluet sales are consistently strong, from small independent stores to regional high-end grocery chains and national retailers. Our success in California is proof of concept, proof that people beyond Maine like this wine. This is where our story, that story of Maine terroir, can lead the path to growth. The wine is gorgeous. It's got bubbles, it's got fragrance, it's unique. It's got this wonderful story to tell from purity of where it comes from. This is an indigenous fruit that makes a compelling wine with a unique flavor, a flavor that's distinct to the state of Maine.